So I'm facilitating today. It is October 17th. On our agenda, we had a couple of, I think today's just going to be kind of like a miscellaneous day. Yeah, and I know there have been some questions and issues with AGU stuff going on, and I want to address that. Not that I really have any answers at all, but just want to give people an opportunity to make sure that we're all, I don't know, on the same page and everything. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about the Excel summit that's CLEAN is doing next month, and explain to folks a little bit more about what's going on there. So I had those two things in mind, and people are more than free to bring up other topics as the hour goes on. And yeah, sorry, Katie, you're not feeling well. And yeah, so why don't we start? Actually, maybe it would be good to do announcements today, or I'm sorry, introductions and announcements today, just because we have a good crew here. So let's do introductions first and popcorn around, and then we can do announcements after. So I'll just say, of course, my name is Gina Fiorelli-Duranlo. I am the CLEAN program coordinator. I work with Katie on the CLEAN project. A project is housed within CERES, the Cooperative Institute for Research in Environmental Sciences at CU Boulder, but I work remotely from Vermont. And Eric is next to me, so I'll popcorn over to him.
Thanks, Gina. I'm Eric Havel, based in Oakland, California, informal climate and environmental educator, working with students and teachers, do a lot of professional development workshops here in the Bay Area for teachers, involved in about 3 different cohorts that were at different levels, K to 12, building climate and environmental literacy. And I will popcorn it over to Wendy.
Hi, I'm Wendy Johnson. I'm pretty new at the National Center for Science Education. I'm a partnership specialist, so I do a lot of outreach to districts and professional development around climate change and evolution. And I will pass it to Rebecca.
Hi, everyone. Good to see those of you I know, and nice to meet those of you who are new to me, at least. I'm Reb Anderson, she, her pronouns. I'm head of education and storytelling at ACE, Action for the Climate Emergency, and I'm located on Washoe land, which is also in Northern California. Frank Granshaw, I'll pass to you.
Okay, good morning or good afternoon, depending on what part of the world you're in. I'm Frank Granshaw. I am a retired geoscience educator who hasn't quite given up the ghost yet. I teach part-time at Portland State, doing essentially climate science for non-science majors, involved with Quaker Earth Care Witness and a whole host of other organizations. And during the announcement, I do have an announcement slash test I want to pass along. But I'm passing over to Mark.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Banaj. I'm calling in from the Bay Area today. I'm working a lot in creating climate career pathways on the K-12 side, looking at how parts of the ecosystem, our education ecosystem and policy ecosystem, are broken, and trying to power that. Especially right now, California is launching this $500 million new funding stream for career education, and for the very first time prioritizes climate careers. So we're gathering some resources, putting out a bunch of resource materials for districts and schools across this state that are interested in creating pathways across the spectrum of climate action. I do a little bit of work on the East Coast as well, but that's basically me. And I will pass it on to James.
Thanks, Mark. James Callahan, Mobile Climate Science Labs. What I'll bring up is what we've done for quite some time is be available and look to who emerges in a K-12 school of a teacher in a school that is looking to be very dedicated in doing things on climate change. And then see if they like to have outside or coming in inside real support, helping teaching, resources, labs, connections to the CLEAN network. We look to see, do they teach CLEAN resources? And we've done pretty well at when a school emerges, we can really take off with them. And so we can look at that when we look at the Excels program. So how about I go on over to Colleen?
Hey, good morning from my corner of the world, Denina Lands outside of Wasilla, Alaska. I'm the education director for the nonprofit Renewable Energy Alaska Project. And I do K to Gray outreach. So I do K through 12 outreach. I do teacher trainings. I do classroom, I do public presentations, webinars, all around clean energy. So we define that as efficiency and renewables. And looking forward to the discussion today. So I haven't quite gotten into my office yet. So keeping my camera off until I get over to my office, listening in.
Why don't we go to Carrie?
Thanks, Gina. My name is Carrie Herndon. I'm the curriculum specialist for the National Center for Science Education. Wendy's already done an introduction for us. I will just add that I did participate in Excel last year and it was amazing. I had a really wonderful time and I'm really looking forward to participating again this year.
I haven't gone yet. I can jump in. I'm Katie Boyd. I'm the CLEAN program manager. I think most of you know me. I mostly manage CLEAN, and then as Gina mentioned, we're also based at Series Education and Outreach. And I also do some evaluation on a couple of our other educational projects as well. And yeah, I'm based in the Boulder, Colorado area, traditional lands of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Ute. I use she, her pronouns, and nice to see you all today.
Reb, did you go, Reb? You did. Has anyone else not gone? Okay, got everyone. Great. Well, thank you for sharing, and we have a great group today, so I'm very excited about that. And like I said, some folks are still joining when I was talking about this, but I have just some like miscellaneous items I think it would be good to talk about today. So we'll get through those, and then if there's anything else that folks want to discuss, we'll probably have time for that as well. So why don't we move over to announcements? You can either raise your hand or put something in the chat. And Frank has his hand raised.
Okay, I just popped the web address into the chat. Wanted to double check with some of you because I assume that most of us are on the CLEAN listserv. I had sent out an announcement yesterday. I wanted to make sure that it had made its way into the listserv and out there to everybody. Okay, and the announcement was for a online portal to engagement with COP28. This year, I've got the pleasure of being able to co-produce this with a graduate student from Unity Environmental College, Environmental University in Unity, Maine. And she's done a fantastic job taking last year's portal and revising it for this year. As I said, there's a little bit of test here. First of all, has anyone tried the link in the announcement I sent over? I also sent the web address here. I did get a little bit of feedback that it was having problems. I wanted to find out if it is working for finally working. Has anyone tried this?
Frank, are you just saying clicking on the link that you did at 10, for my time, 10:11 a.m.? Did that come up?
The one that I just put in, which is the same one, that same link that's in the announcement I sent yesterday.
So
Okay, Mark gave me the thumbs up, so I'm assuming that it's working.
yeah, it looks okay.
Fantastic. The other reason I'm announcing this, well, I'm announcing this for two reasons. First of all, if you folks can push this out to your own networks, the whole idea behind this is, as I said in the announcement that I sent through yesterday, or not day before yesterday, is that there's a lot of folks who are not able to attend the COPs. There are all kinds of virtual ways to at least get a sense of what's happening, and in some cases, even get your voice in. And that's what we've tried to do with this portal, is gather all those threads through, so folks can be engaged with this. This COP is particularly important because of who's at the helm, and the chance that the process can get shanghaied. Anyway, the last thing I wanted to make mention of here is, if any of you have events through your organization that would be good to list in here, that have something to do with the upcoming COP, please email me. And so I can be able to get Golly, who's the intern working with me, to put those into the website. Okay, that's enough from me.
I'll add to Frank and Eric really have been our COP champions here on CLEAN for a little while now. So I appreciate all of the organization that you guys are doing. And next week on the schedule, we're going to be having a discussion a little bit more about COP stuff, led by Frank and Eric, I believe, as well. So if you have any interest in that topic, definitely make sure to come next week, and we'll be having another discussion about this because it's coming up quickly. So, yes, I thank you both, and Frank, for sending all of that information and working so hard on this virtual participation. Are there any other announcements? Jim?
Thanks. So Gina, I'll just give a quick thing on the Girl Scouts Climate Convention that was just held this weekend in Marin County in the Bay Area. It was 160 young people there from age 4 to 12 and their parents. It's always very good. I'm always looking, though, that we don't just have a large crowd and we get some basics down and they do action and so on, but who is going to emerge as really going to be doing some action for the whole year and reach out and make their. And I was very pleased that we had a team from Fremont and Newark, which are in kind of the southern East Bay of California, of the Bay Area, and that's 10 8th graders, and what's really stood out is 6 parents who are just totally into it and things. And one of the things, what I can give is maybe what I want to say is, there's the making advances inside the schools, there's making advances inside the museums, and then there's recognizing that a lot of times the schools are just not moving very fast and they're not moving much. Then organizations like the Girl Scouts step in, and essentially we're doing classes with these families. It's not homeschool, but I mean, like, you get this troop that are going to do deep education on climate change and then work with their whole city, which I won't go into much, but the city that they're in is already great in working with. And so, I mean, things can happen both in and out of the schools. And I think when it happens simultaneously, we just push for change. We don't wait around for a policy. We love policies to get moved on. We want policies, but we're not waiting on policies. We're going and working with what exists, and we can really make some stuff crack through. So the Girl Scouts came through this weekend.
Great, thank you for that update. With anything else to add, or anything else going on? Well, feel free to use the chat if anything else comes to mind. I'll quickly just say, if you know any teachers who are looking to get familiar with CLEAN, or anyone that's looking to get familiar with CLEAN, Katie and I will also be there leading a introduction to CLEAN webinar on November 8th, I believe, and I can put the link to that in the chat as well, but just want to give folks a heads up. That's some exciting news with CLEAN. We are reducing our number of semesterly webinars because we're working on creating an asynchronous course for teachers to get professional development instead. So that will be our one webinar of the fall this year, as we're working on creating something a little bit bigger. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Katie. So yeah, if you have anyone that wants to get an introduction to CLEAN, that'll be available. And yeah, so that's it for me. I put AGU on the agenda for today because I've heard from a few different people, and I know Katie has also heard from a few different people. They've not gotten notification about their abstracts, which is confusing because I know also a few people who have heard confirmation about their abstracts. And I know not everyone is participating in AGU, so I'm sorry if this isn't super relevant to everyone, but I did want to give a chance to see if anyone has any information about that. Oh, Frank, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, one thing I did yesterday was to go online to the fall meeting website and just do a search for my name, and it came up and it gave me the time that the poster was scheduled, everything else. I never received a confirmation of the abstract, but apparently it's confirmed because it's on the schedule. So I'd encourage folks to do the same.
Did anybody didn't receive an email about their abstracts? I'm just curious because I don't think we have either. We, as Gina mentioned, as conveners, got the emails about the sessions being confirmed, but I don't know that anybody got an email about their abstract.
I submitted an abstract for a poster at a session that's not CLEAN related, like it's a completely different thing, and I got an email about it.
You did get an email, so it is just like some people did and some people didn't. Interesting.
It seems like.
So I can respond, but first, always to think on both of you, Frank. That technique I didn't think to try. That's a really good one, to go in and just come in through your own name and see what's going on. But that obviously is a flaw, because if you can get through it to your name, but they didn't send you a notice, that's not AGU's normal way. So in answer to response to the thing of, first, how can I possibly say this? I'm tracking 8 different posters, 2 of them that I do, and 6 that are by middle and high school students, which in turn each have 10 co-authors. Only one of those 6 got a notification, and neither of mine did. So 1 out of 8 of thy track got a notification. Further, as you all know, I've been checking, like last night, is basically the site's down, or there is no security certification for it. At least, hopefully, it's been cleared up. But I mean, all McAfee and all the people I have for saying don't go on the site. There's no certification for it. So that's just a thing to check in. But those are 2 indicators of that's seriously bad. That something as important as AGU doesn't have security certification. There's balls being dropped. So I mean, now I don't want to be nasty. I want it to be well. But a little bit what I'm coming from is thank you, Gina, for putting this on so we can compare notes, because now it's a thing of going into AGU and say what's going on, and wanting to be as informed as possible and not angry, but not also, oh, I guess there's no problem. No, there's serious problems going on. Thank you for letting me bring up my thought.
Yeah, it is frustrating because I know a few people are waiting to make travel arrangements, and I know some people, whether or not they get an oral or a poster assigned to them, will determine if they're even participating. And that early bird registration deadline is coming up too. So, for a lot of people, price might go up, but that is a really good workaround, Frank, with just checking the website and if it if it's working. One other thing I want to mention for folks, because this might save anyone some money. I know that the registration fees for AGU are a barrier at times. And what we've been able to do at Series in the past is we have our director Anna Gold write a letter certifying that we work with K-12, we work in K-12 education, and teachers are able to get a reduced registration rate. It's only $50 typically if you have that K-12 connection. So if you or a supervisor are able to write a letter certifying that and sending it to the AGU team, you might be eligible for a reduced registration rate.
And not just K through 12, it's funny, they list on the registration page informal educators as well. But then when you actually go to register, you have to submit yourself as a K through 12 educator to get that rate. But it does include informal educators according to their website. So that's why we can get it as well. So if you're an informal educator and can prove that, that would count as well. But just when you do the registration, you have to choose the K through 12 option, which is kind of strange that they don't have that as an option in the actual system. But
that's a good point. I think I was confused by that last year, actually. So that's a good point, Katie.
Yeah, it's confusing because, like I said, on their website, when they list the people who can get the reduced rate for being an educator, they list informal educators on there as well. But when you go into the actual registration process, you have to choose K through 12 educator as the type of registration you're doing.
Yeah. And Reb just asked a really good question. So we haven't created a list just because the agenda was just made live, but we will have a list of we usually make a list of our sessions and other sessions that might be relevant.
Yeah.
We're planning on doing that. But if you just search climate empowerment in the system, they'll all come up.
Okay.
That's the term that we used.
Oh, thank you.
So all of them are named climate empowerment.
But yes, we will work on making
Yeah.
something that includes other sessions we see that might be relevant as well.
And if I might throw into the subject of knowing that I think more than usual, there's going to be much more sorting out what happened between when they were listed, right? It's not uncommon that the codes will change between when we're submitting abstracts and when they're listed, but they really have changed. I mean, they're really all over the place. Numbers have changed. Before the site was inaccessible to me, I was able to go in and see how different they were. If I would too, specifically, there's one that Frank was listed as being the convener of, right? It's an important one, ED 031. I didn't see any evidence of it existing anymore. So it was kind of like, is it been canceled? Has it been merged? Has it been withdrawn? Or is it just going by another name now? So, they're important, CLEAN related abstracts, sessions that last I looked, like a few days ago, it didn't exist. So kind of like what happened?
That's very weird. Jim, you said that's the one that Frank is doing?
Yeah, so if I could, specifically, when we did abstracts, it was called ED 031, and I can get the full title of it, but it was it was with another section, like Science and Society, I forget which one, but it was one about climate literacy. It was clearly a very important strategic one.
It was the NCA one, right? It was about the National Climate Assessment, I think. That was the one we did.
Well be. Now they do have now listed, I think it's more coincidental, but now there are ED 031, but they're A, B, C, D, and E, and none of the titles are match the other ED 031. So like it's again the like one the numbering is very different than the abstract, so it's very hard to align one to one. But I mean, if Frank's isn't going, and it has that importance, I hope Frank knows that I'm not seeing it listed, right? I mean, what happened? That's a big deal if they've lost that session.
I have a meeting with him this week. I'll ask and see if he knows more. I'm not a convener on that session, so I don't know. Maybe it got collapsed or something. I'm not sure, or combined. But I'm gonna see him this week so I can ask. Because I'm pretty sure, yeah, he was doing a session on the National Climate Assessment. Pretty sure that's what it was about. So that's good to know. Hey Jen. We're just talking AGU. Frank, I know you have your hand up.
I think he is doing a session on the National Climate Assessment. It may not come up under the climate empowerment search, though. I think it's different.
Yeah, we didn't include it. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he did get that submitted because I thought Anna was part of that. So
yeah, I've seen it.
And I would concur that it got submitted, and of course, I mean, I
oh,
can't
but
imagine
whether it was accepted. Oh, I haven't checked yet. That's true.
I don't see it in the schedule.
Interesting.
And Katie, you're giving everyone who gives good information. Thank you. We're putting pieces together, so I'm not trying to contradict anything. I could see it get moved around and done things, but I can't see it not being referenced in the education section. That would just be like, what? I mean, it may share with another session, but it's now moved out of the education section. That's kind of crazy.
Good point. I'll ask him and see what's going on with it. I don't know. Frank.
Sorry, I gotta grab a phone call.
Oh, no worries. Jen, you just joined. We have a few people who haven't, we're trying to get to the bottom of this. We have a few people who haven't gotten notification about whether or not their abstracts were accepted or not. Well, thanks, Reb.
Bye, Reb.
Hi, bye. I don't know if you submitted any abstracts or if you were just a convener, but you gotten any emails or
Actually, yeah, I didn't submit an abstract, but my coworker Hannah did. They got a notification, but then my other coworker or colleague Nadia did not get a notification, but found their poster listed somewhere. So I think I'm not really sure like what's going on with AGU. It's a little bit weird.
Okay. Yeah, that seems to be the consensus, is like half the people got notifications, half didn't, but the schedule is live, so I guess if you need answers, that's just the place to go.
Yeah.
So it's pretty weird. But yeah.
Were there other sessions? I was actually wondering if there were like larger, like sometimes, Frank puts in for like town halls or like sort of a larger session, education session. And I'm wondering, sometimes those don't get in the program or they're listed in funny places. And I just didn't know if anyone on the call, either Katie or Gina, or anybody else knows anything about that.
I think the big one that Frank did, Frank was on a couple. We were just talking about one of them, and I think I found it, Jim. It's not in education. It looks like it's, yeah, INV 11C. I don't even know what INV is. It says it's a innovation session. So that's probably the one that'll be harder to find. I think the other thing that Frank submitted, he did list as climate empowerment. And I think that one will come up if you search for climate empowerment, but I'm doing that as we speak and I will tell you if it does or not. He did have one other one that he had submitted more of an actual session, I thought anyways.
I'm glad you found it, Katie. That's helpful.
But that's the NCA 5.1 that it seems like that might be the one that's a little bit harder to find.
If one thing is, as usual, the CLEAN meetings are very productive and very helpful. I certainly want to reach out to more close colleagues, but even maybe an announcement on the CLEAN network. I mean, this is really valuable advice, right? In some ways, I mean, I think the thing of search for climate empowerment, that's sort of like why didn't I do that? But Frank's like search under your own name and see if you come up. That's just, I mean, in some ways that's kind of obvious, but normally we don't have to do that. But that's great advice for people who might be not coming into this call or raising their concerns, or maybe deciding not to go to AGU. I guess I wasn't accepted. Hey, wait a second, go check these ways, because AGU rarely doesn't accept, especially if you're paying $70 for it. They usually want that money. You have to be pretty off the wall not to be accepted, I think. But anyway, let people know, look these ways. Does that sound right? Is there any point in having something more official come from CLEAN, or just any of us post something to the CLEAN network? Hey, advice on how to find your presentation.
No, that's a good point. I was thinking if people wanted to talk about it today, that they could join the meeting or listen to the recording if they had specific AGU related questions. I know a lot of people on the listserv do not go to AGU and are not involved, so I'm always hesitant to like I'm spamming people on the listserv. But it might be worth sending a follow-up just with that blatantly stated. Because I agree, it is kind of obvious, but not really that obvious. Because I think you would assume that if you haven't heard a notification that the agenda wouldn't be live. That would be my assumption. But yeah, we can send out an announcement. I think that'd be good. I can do that. I had one other thought about AGU. Oh, yeah, speaking of not everyone is going to AGU, which is totally fine and reasonable. I did want to say though that we usually host during the week of the conference, we host a CLEAN call for people to kind of like connect in. So that would be let's cut it up. December 12th. So Tuesday, obviously. I will probably jump on and ask anyone that's at the conference to also jump on. And that way people who are at home and are not connected to the conference can hear about what's going on and what sessions have been really interesting and what we're all learning. So that's just a heads up if you are going, and also if you're not going. So everyone, that'll be December 12th, probably. That was one other thing I wanted to say about it. But yeah, are there any other thoughts or questions about AGU? It's coming quick. Oh yeah.
Hey, Gina.
Yeah.
Sorry, and apologies for jumping on late. You guys may have talked about this, but I also in the past we've organized like a dinner meetup or something like more social. Did you already talk about this?
We haven't talked about that. I am planning to do that. I haven't made any moves.
Well, let me know how I can help you.
Thank you.
I'm happy to be the co-conspirator on that one.
You were very good at helping me find places for those things.
Likewise, I mean, Jim Callan and I are local in the Bay Area, so we could certainly help, navigate stuff along those lines too.
Great. That's very helpful.
Mark too. I know Mark, you're some local too, so.
I am not familiar with the area at all, so I will definitely be reaching out and needing help with that. I didn't say it, but yes, I am thinking it would be good for us to have some kind of in-person meetup as well. Yeah.
I thought on that, at the risk of talking too much, and I apologize if I am, I think what we're looking at with where AGU is at this year is it's going to underline how even more important than normal the clean network is to look at, because we need to look out for each other and look socially. And just I will just speak to even just the advice that I've gotten from you all today. Clearly, AGU, for anybody who's never done it before, there is so many hoops to go through. It's not easy to do this compared to some other things. It's clearly going to be screwed up. I mean, we've seen major hiccups and things. So I mean, able to give advice and help each other, it's important. So it's something we want to be successful. But I think we should know that we're going to be helping each other a lot, getting through it, so AGU isn't overly cumbersome.
Definitely. Yeah, it's very overwhelming. And obviously their system is having issues this year too, so it'd be especially overwhelming.
I had one more question, sorry, that just popped into my head.
Yeah.
My poster is in person because I'm planning to go this year. And I feel like several of the folks I know on this call who might normally be virtual it's in their area and are going in person. Is anyone here doing a poster virtually? I ask because I remember seeing at some point that the virtual posters were going to be like in January or something. Does anyone know about that? Like, is that still true that they're like totally separate from the rest of the conference?
It's absolutely true.
Yeah, it is true, Katie.
So it's so weird to me.
Yeah, a big deal of absolutely. They're making people, make your decision. It's a tough one for us. We're having our students that are in the Bay Area be in person, and the others are being remote, and it's this whole nother schedule in AGU that you'll look. There's a schedule for January, and the two is and actually, okay, sorry. What we actually see is the climate literacy sessions seem to be much more represented in the January than I saw them being represented in the in-person.
Wow. Interesting. Thanks. Yeah, I'll look around. Like I just got back from a couple weeks off and had a sick kid yesterday, and I've been sick. So I actually haven't looked through the program myself very much yet. So I'll look at that. Yeah, I thought we had quite a few virtual posters in our session. So that'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Very odd. I had forgotten about that, Katie, so that's a good question. Not something that I would expect either. Anything else about AGU? Yeah.
Maybe just connecting the dots a little bit between, next week's call and the project that Frank and I are working on. It's going to be, there's overlap between COP and AGU. So the project that Frank and I are working on is, how to open up accessibility to COP 28 and in general, just through the portal that Frank's developed over time. So just could be some of the conversation. And in a similar way, just it's making me think that, AGU is a big conference. There's virtual engagement opportunities as there are at COP, and all these things are evolving and emerging. So there might just be some overlap in the kind of conversation about digital and remote access to large events in general. And then, as they connect to climate specifically, I think all the more important that we do open up these pathways and really encourage their development because of the carbon emissions that are saved, right, by not traveling to events all the time. And yet it's also a value, I think, to have a subset of folks meet in person, right, and to convene and get to know each other. And many of you on the call I haven't met in person, so I'm excited to do that. But it's not, there's oftentimes it's not necessary, right? So kind of just that parallel conversation. Maybe it's a kind of a tangent we could take next week. So it's not just talking about COP28 and access, but just this idea, because we've talked about this kind of thing in clean calls in the past. So just kind of throwing that out there.
For sure. That's a really timely point in our post-COVID world where we're making these decisions and things are changing. So thank you, Eric and Frank too, again, for bringing up those questions for us. Anything else? Okay, well, I appreciate that conversation. I'm at the point now I really need to book my travel, and it's good to know um what's going on with everyone and what the status is. We have a little bit of time left, and I wanted to just give folks an update about the Excel Summit that CLEAN is convening next month. I know some people have been involved through last year's summit, and I wanted to give a rundown about what's happening this year because it looks a little bit different. So whether or not you're able to attend, there are going to be many opportunities to be involved. That is because we are, last year's summit, we had a 2-day event where we met online, and we hoped for more time for collaboration, but we kind of ended up running out a little bit. And this year we're expanding everything to actually include working groups. That will be the main focus of the summit. On November 16th, we're having a launch event where we'll have, have a panel and some lightning talks and that type of thing. But it's actually a launch for working groups to be meeting regularly throughout the winter. And then we will have a culminating event in the spring as well to talk about what was learned and what folks worked on and that type of thing. So we had put out a call for proposals earlier this year for people to suggest what topics they would like to see working groups on. And we had 5 groups of people volunteer to lead these working groups. I don't know if I'm going to be able to rattle off the 5 topics right now. It's climate change and mental health is one. And we have climate change, communication, and journalism is another. Jim proposed a group that was really focused on like DEI and climate action. Carrie and her group had proposed a session on more like education methods in the school, and had some great collaborators there. And I think I'm forgetting the 5th one. Oh, Climate Generation had proposed a session or a working group, I'm sorry, on climate education in rural communities and rural areas. So those are kind of the things that people self-identified as being priorities that they wanted to push forward this year. So at this launch event next month, we're going to hear lightning talks from each of these groups, pending that they're, all still able to join and that type of thing. And they're going to kind of pitch the idea. And at that point, we're going to break out into breakout rooms, and anyone that's attending is able to join whatever breakout room they want with whatever working group they want. And at that point, there'll be opportunities to ask questions, talk a little bit more about ideas, and start setting an agenda for what actually needs to happen. CLEAN hasn't prescribed exactly like how many times or at what frequency these working groups need to meet, because I think that will be something that they need to determine themselves. But so I think time commitments will vary, but even if you're not able to attend this event on the 16th, although I really hope you can, there will be opportunities to plug into whatever working group you're interested in throughout the year. And again, this is happening in November, so we're assuming the wrap up will be occurring in like March or April. So there'll be a few months where this will all be going on. And I'm trying to think about what else. We have 2 great speakers lined up right now to do a moderated panel discussion about both informal and formal education systems and climate change. Ellen Ebert from Washington State, who's done work with Climb Time. And then Emily Fano, who was just here last week with National Wildlife Federation, will also be on that panel as well. We're going to spend some time talking about the matrix that was created last year. That was something that Frank Neopold really brought together, and his colleague Haley Krim, where we are creating this database of people in our community and what the topics that they are focusing on are. So, you know, if like I were to be in the matrix, my name, organization, email, and then kind of what category I fall into, which would probably be like K-12 education, since that's mostly what CLEAN does. And it's this database so that if you're ever looking for collaborators, you can open it up and see who in the community is working on similar things that you're working on. And then you are able to connect with them and get access to their contact information as well. So we're going to spend some time talking about that matrix. And we'll be asking some questions in the registration to kind of like gather information for that matrix. And I think that that is mostly it. I'm seeing a lot of chat items come up. Yes, Colleen is asking about the topics. They're climate change and mental health, climate change journalism and communication, climate change education and rural communities. Jim again is doing like a DEI and climate action working group. And then I'm very bad at explaining the working group that Carrie is doing, but creating climate science inventories for assessing student understanding. So yes, that's a summary of hers as well. So those are the 5 right now. I just did a lot of talking. Are there any, thank you, Katie, any questions? Yeah, Mark.
So I guess one of my questions is, and full disclosure, I'm saying this as someone who didn't get a proposal in on time, is whether those topics, the 5 topics, are the topics for this year, you know, and like if you don't resonate precisely with one, should I sit out, or is it possible to either find collaborators on the way or to still work on some other, you know, topics, you know what I mean? Like, is there going to be a breakout room for none of the above, or is there some other way of matching, or are we just going with these 5 for now, which I think are wonderful. I'm not disparaging these in any way, obviously, but I was just, you know, just curious.
That's a very good question.
Which also I think resonates with what Colleen asked and
Yeah.
fine. That's a great, I don't think we had thought about that.
Thought about that.
We could potentially. I mean, I think the thing is that we were limited in terms of we're providing funding for each of these groups. We don't have any more funding to provide, but if folks want to do a group without funding, I could totally be open to that. And we haven't talked about that, but we could definitely make a breakout space for like, is your topic not here? And do you want to try to do something else? It's also something like we're going to continue, you know, Excel's where we want to continue and sustain this into the future and make this a bigger event. So this is, you know, there's opportunities always in the future for more topics as well. But I do like the idea of having a space this year for like, if your topic's not there, maybe folks could come together and see what, if they want to do something about that and create a different group.
Yeah, that's again, not something that we thought about. This is first time we're really doing it like this. So we're going to be missing pieces along the way. And I think that is definitely something we could do pretty easily, is just open a 5th room, or maybe even more than, you know, there'll probably people who want to have their own, multiple people who would want to have their own space. So maybe we could open a few breakout rooms with that caveat. And yeah, like Katie said, our limit was because we were providing stipends, and we've gone over that. We've already gone over that limit that we had set for ourselves, just because we were really excited about the proposals that we had. But if people are excited and energized, the heart of this event really is around collaboration and not making anything exclusive, trying to make it accessible and inviting, and really just trying to do what's best for pushing our work forward. So if people are, if people have the energy and vision for that, I think it's totally worth going forward. And I'll check in with the planning committee about that idea, and I don't see a reason why we couldn't open a few more breakout rooms. Jen is gone. Yeah, Eric.
Yeah, and process wise, I mean, maybe that's an opportunity to look at that matrix and kind of talk about how these 5 that are sort of formalized fit in, but there are also, like, to Mark's point, and where are there other opportunities that folks, that the matrix presented sort of like, hey, this is an area of collaboration, but we didn't get a proposal, and or just the, as you said, Mark, the, other ideas. And it could also just be informative for future planning too, right? Like this is this year, and then this emerging area of interest is something that does get more formalized, next year. So just something to think about in terms of process. I was thinking the same, just tangentially, there's the whole Eclipse initiative that Kelly Lee is driving out of Southern California, but it's statewide effort, and it's involving, the Cal State and UC system. So it's a statewide sort of climate and literacy kind of initiative that we're driving here. She's driving, and I didn't put my name in the hat to get involved in that, but it's very much something I'm interested in, so I think in this, it's a great thought, Mark, to sort of have that other bucket and just future planning, think about how we can kind of work together moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kelly's great. She's on our planning committee, and it's good to have her perspective from having done the Eclipse work, to help inform this. And the matrices would be a really good resource for maybe trying to figure out, like how many or what other kinds of breakout rooms would we need to open. We went around in circles for a few weeks. Just like for some context, we went around in circles for a few weeks in our planning meetings about what topics should we have working groups on, and we had so many different ideas that someone at one point just said, like, why don't we have people propose them, because we shouldn't be prescribing it anyway. It should be very community driven. So that's where the idea of the proposals came into play. But I don't think that was necessarily created to be like, to put a limit on what people want to do. But I think that, if we aligned the topics that we have right now, if we aligned them with the matrix and then saw what the gaps are, I could put in our description of the event, like we're gonna open up breakout rooms for these other topics, and that someone might read the description and think, oh, okay, well, I'm not interested in any of these ideas, I'm not going to come. That might help encourage some people to come. So thank you everyone for bringing that up. This is why I'm bringing this up, because we're figuring it out as we go. Are there any other thoughts or questions about this? I'm really excited. It's coming together. It's come together a lot in the past few weeks. It was hard to get started, but I think now we have a really good plan. And I was just waiting on one more logistical thing that's going to get resolved today, but that means that tomorrow we will open registration. I'm going to send it out on the listserv. I'll post it on all of our social media. It'll be in our newsletter. And I just encourage everyone here to share this with their networks. Please email it. Please share it on social media, forward it, word of mouth. We are not just limited to the CLEAN community. We really, really want to get beyond the CLEAN community. So whoever you work with, please encourage them to join. And like I said, even if they can't come on the 16th, I'm going to be giving regular updates about when working groups are meeting and what's happening. So please plug in at any point. But yeah, I will be announcing that registration link tomorrow. So please share that and push it out to everyone that you know. But yeah. Any other thoughts? Well, like I said, next week we'll be hearing a little bit more about the COP stuff that Frank and Eric are leading, and then I've got a few speakers lined up for November, so we should have some good clean calls coming up. As you know, as always, reach out if you have any questions or thoughts, but I think we can probably end it there. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all.
Thank you.